What's up? Check out this blunt and honest review from the Jock and Nerd Podcast. That's us. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the jock.
He's the nerd.
And he's the rug boy.
What's up, guys?
Jock and Nerd. All right, fellas, let's get to this week's review. It's the OG 1978 Superman. Here's spoilers for a 47-year-old movie.
Strap yourselves in, you fucks. Spoiler time.
And why are we taking a look at this movie now? Well, got James Gunn's Superman coming up. It's very important for Warner Brothers, for DC Studios. And I think it's a good time. We have something to compare with arguably, possibly the most important movie for the genre we talk about, which is comic book and superhero films. This is the one that set the template.
At the what?
Set the template, the tone.
Oh, I thought you said this one is at the temple.
It is. It's also at the temple of which I worship. All hail. We also did a What the Fuck Happened Superman Quest for Peace. So that's on
it's kind of crazy. We've been doing these before big movies. We've been going back, especially any sequels or reboots or anything. We've been going back and doing the OG. But we've done 594 episodes. Well, this is the 594th episode. Yep. It's kind of crazy. A movie podcast about superheroes, and we never did the original.
Never did the original Superman. And I see a lot of podcasts are kind of doing the same thing, but some people are doing Superman Returns, which makes sense also. But no. We've never talked about this. You got to talk about OG 78 Superman. Of course, the first of 4 movies this spawns. On the Rotten Tomatoes, the movie is at 93% tomato meter, 86% popcorn meter. This movie was made for $55 million, which in 1977 was the most expensive film made up until that point. It does finish the worldwide box office with $300 million. It was the second highest grossing movie that year. Anthony, what are some of those 1978 movies we got?
Oh, shit. I wasn't even ready. Give me 1 second. 1 second there, bub. Let me type in the old Google machine, and we'll go with in-year releases. So, 1978. You want to know the top 10?
Yes.
Number 1, Grease.
Oh, Grease was the number 1. You're the one that I want.
Number 2, Superman.
Nice.
Number 3, National Lampoon's Animal House.
Oh, man.
These are the only 3 films that made over $100 million that year.
Oh, that's crazy. All
right, here's the other ones. And I some of these I'm not familiar with, so I'm going to be curious if you guys have heard of these. Number 4, Every Which Way But Loose.
Oh, yeah. It's Clint Eastwood.
Oh, that's Clint Eastwood. Okay.
5, Heaven Can Wait.
That's, what's his name?
I have no idea.
Angel. It's about an angel.
Yeah.
Okay. 6, Hooper.
Never heard of it.
I don't know what that is either.
Yeah.
Number 7, Jaws 2.
Jaws 2. Jaws is its 50th anniversary this year, too. So, yeah, this came out a few years. Okay.
Number 8, Revenge of the Pink Panther.
I kind of like some of these Pink Panther movies.
Number 9, The Deer Hunter.
Yes.
We reviewed.
We reviewed this one.
And 10, we also reviewed this. Halloween.
That's crazy. This is the 3rd movie from 1978 that we have reviewed.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
But yeah, 70s. We talked, I think in the past, we were talking about like 70s movies and how they're kind of gritty and dirty and dangerous. And this movie comes and is kind of the opposite. It's kind of the opposite.
Well, but also, though, you've got the 70s movies that are like what you mentioned, but then you have this wave of movies that are set the tone for the modern blockbuster, because you've got Jaws, you've got Star Wars, you've got Close Encounters of the Third Kind, whatever the hell, and then you got Superman.
Yes,
so come out in the span of 4 years.
This is kind of the start of like a sci-fi push with Star Wars, Close Encounters, and Superman. Are the 3 that kind of start all the sci-fi movies you get later. Anyways, this original Superman movie, directed by Richard Donner, and written by Mario Puzo, who wrote The Godfather, actually starts writing a draft for this movie, and then it is taken and turned into a screenplay by David Newman, Leslie Newman, Robert Benton, and then Tom Mankiewicz comes in, punches it up some more. He doesn't get a credit. It just says creative consultant. Of course, you have music by John Williams, the legendary theme. The movie does end up getting nominated for Best Film Editing, Best Music Original Score, and Best Sound at the 51st Academy Awards, and gets a Special Achievement Academy Award for Visual Effects. So, the thing all those three movies have in common, Star Wars, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Superman, people were seeing shit they'd never seen on a big screen in a movie before. It must have been very exciting. This movie is rated PG, and the version that's on HBO Max is 2 hours and 24 minutes. There's a couple of different versions of this movie. I think this is the theatrical cut, I believe, because later on they had a 3 hour, 8 minute version for television that the TV studio could break it in two if they wanted. And then there's like a 2 hour, 30 minute director's cut, adds a little bit more. But the version I think we all watched this on Max, right? So we're talking about the 2 hour, 24 minute version. Anthony, this is weird to say, but we're going to do it. It's how we do all the reviews. What happens in Superman?
Oh, Superman is the origin story of Kal-El, who is an alien from Krypton, who is sent to Earth by his father, Jor-El, after Jor-El finds out that his planet is going to burst or be swallowed by the sun or something. It's going to die. So he sends his only son over to Earth. And this story is about this alien on Earth that is superhuman and is raised by parents from Kansas. And during this time, he learns about what humanity is like and builds up a conscience and learns, how to harness his powers, and then becomes a Superman and goes to the big city in Metropolis and starts to save people and fight crime. And because of this, he catches the attention of an evil man named Lex Luthor and has to deal with him. The reason this is such a convoluted summary is because this movie is told in like three different stories.
Yeah, there's different segments.
So it isn't just one. You could simply say it's the origin story of Superman, but that doesn't really do the summary of this movie justice.
I forgot to mention the cast real quick, because when you watch this movie, you'll notice something interesting. The first two credits are not Christopher Reeve. The movie starts with Marlon Brando, who played Jor-El. Gene Hackman playing Lex Luthor. Christopher Reeve, of course, playing Superman. You got Ned Beatty as Otis. Jackie Cooper as Perry White. Glenn Ford, who was a big deal at the time, as Pa Kent. Margot Kidder. Lois Lane. Terrence Stamp as General Zod in the beginning. Another big actor of the time. And Mark McClure as Jimmy Olsen. And there's some other people. But the fact that Marlon Brando is in this is kind of wild. So, Anthony, let's start it this way. What is your history with this movie? When was the first time you saw this movie?
Well, I was not 25 years old like you guys when you first saw this movie. I was
you son of a bitch.
Barely a twinkle in my father's eye at this point. I was not around. This movie, I don't have like the close relationship to this movie that maybe you guys have, because it wasn't part of my childhood.
Yeah.
My childhood was the shitty Batman movies, and then really kicked into gear with the X-Men and Spider-Man. Like, those were the movies that were part of my childhood. So I don't think I ever watched Superman in full till, if I did, I didn't really comprehend it, and I didn't really watch it in full until I was much older, probably in my early 20s, to be honest. So I don't have a very close, and on top of that, while I like Superman as a character, he wasn't my guy in DC. I was a Batman guy, and then when I got older, I was more of a Green Lantern guy. I always respected Superman, but he wasn't the first guy I would go to. I always knew he was the most popular or one of the biggest superhero characters of all time. But I never had this affinity for the character. Didn't grow up with the movie. So, yeah, I mean, this movie for me isn't like, I get why it's beloved, and we can talk about my thoughts on it later, but it wasn't something that was a formative movie for me.
Yeah, a couple of other interesting things. It's 78 when this comes out. It's Superman's 40th anniversary, and the only Superman on screen were these black and white serials, never been done
and
earnestly. George Reeves on television, the TV show in the 50s, and it was all black and white. I think some of it was color at the end, but I literally grew up with this movie. But Ruggs, let's go to you. What's your history with this movie?
Well, so when I was a kid, I think I saw this on TV, like regular TV, network television. Channel 11 in New York would have movie nights. So they'd run like the Sunday movie would be Superman, and you'd watch it, have commercials. It was edited for television.
This would have been the early 80s. Like, I think it hit TV in 82.
I didn't see this in the theater. I was too young to see it in the theater. So I caught it on TV, and it's all we had.
Yes.
I mean, we had Spider-Man on the Electric Company.
Yep.
Like, he didn't even talk. And then we had this, and we had the Incredible Hulk.
And 60s Batman.
And 60s Batman, of course. And that's all we had as far as costume, comic book. And I liked Superman. I liked it. I didn't understand the movie. I was like, this is boring. And then when Superman finally saves everybody and it flies, it's cool. But I was very bored by this film when I was a kid.
Really?
Until I got a copy on VHS and watched it as an adult, because I was like, oh, the guy who wrote The Godfather did this. And I was like, kind of like, let me give Christopher Reeve another shot. Another real. Let me give this movie another shot, and then I got it on DVD. I got it, and I got the box set, and then I really just fell in love with this movie. Yeah. I like rediscovered it because all the boring parts are my favorite parts now.
Yeah,
and when I was a kid, I had no attention span and no ability to like get on with it. But like this movie really won me over later on in life. And now, especially now that I have perspective and I've seen all the slop that we've gotten, I admire this movie so much more. So, that's my relationship with this movie is I've been kind of dipping back into it from not liking it so much, being bored with it as a kid, to starting to really love it and now appreciate it on a different level completely now.
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up with this movie, and you were absolutely right. This is all we had. There are parts of this movie that are burned into my brain, and there are parts I remember that scared the shit out of me when I was a little kid. But this is my first live-action Superman, and I've probably watched this a number of times. And watching it again, there was some things that I forgot, actually, like the beginning. We'll get into that. I was like, this is in this movie? But Christopher Reeve, like, he reminded me of my father at that age. And I think it does that to a lot of people when you watch this when you're little. There's a connection. And watching it now, this amazing combination of analog special effects is so awesome to watch compared to, like you said, Ruggs, the CGI slop we get. I mean, you're talking matte paintings and miniatures and models and green screen and wires and using optical printers, and the graininess of the film is great, and it's trippy as fuck. So, Anthony, let's start with you. How did you feel watching this whole thing now, given your history?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it a couple times, and I agree with Ruggs. I think as a kid, this is a very boring movie for the most part, because it's just a lot of talking. He doesn't fight anybody, really. You see him fly around, but that's about it.
But he's got dad jokes, which I always remembered the jokes. They're so bad, but I thought they were hilarious when I was a kid.
I hated Lex Luthor. I hated.
We'll get to that. Yes,
all those guys. So,
yeah, I've seen this a few times. I'll say I like the movie. I think it's crazy to me that movie they nailed it as well as they did. Now, do they nail everything? No. And the movie is dated, and it is, you can see the effects are not awesome. They're not terrible, but you have to go with the mindset like this is 1978 and it's the first real superhero movie in a long time, other than the Batman stuff. it's a charming movie. It's an earnest movie. Christopher Reeves is great in it. He's a star. All the farm stuff is all great. I'd say the beginning with the Krypton stuff.
Yeah,
is probably the more weak part in my opinion.
Yeah,
like you could probably cut that down. But I'm guessing they paid Marlon Brando a lot when they were like, well, we got to use him.
Yeah,
but that really is that. It starts off the movie and you're just like, okay, let's get on with this. Like, you don't need to see all that stuff. Yeah. But once it gets to the farm, I think it's really good. When you get to the Metropolis and the interview and all that stuff and the lines, I love all the lines in the movie. Perry White is great. I wrote down one of Perry White's lines. I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah.
But he says something like, what does he say? Oh, and he's talking to Jimmy Olsen, and he's like, "Give me some coffee with some sugar, and don't call me sugar."
Don't call me sugar. And then Jimmy tells that guy, "Hey, get him coffee and give me a tea," and passes it on.
He's like, well, under his breath, he goes, "Okay, sugar. I mean, sugar. Go get him some coffee and some tea." Yeah.
If you notice, there's so many crazy details. That dude in the red shirt, you see him later on with the tea and the coffee, like trying to get. He brings it to Perry, and he tries to chase down Jimmy.
I think if you go into this movie and you go, hey, it's the first one and it's really a comedy.
Yeah.
Like if you go in, it's like, hey, this is an earnest superhero movie comedy. I think you have a good time with it. Overall, I really liked it. I think I can point out some of the weaknesses. I don't think it's a perfect movie, but without really a template to do this, it's impressive that they nailed it.
It's hard to put yourself in the mindset of 78. Like their tagline was, "You will believe a man can fly." Nobody ever seen that done well in a movie screen, and they pulled it off.
It looks fine.
But you got to imagine at the time. I think some of it looks still like the graininess helps kind of bury the effect that it looks like it works. You see a lot of the matte lines, but the way they figured out how to do this, they had to invent shit. But I think if watching this in 78 would be crazy. But I agree. Like Christopher Reeves saves this movie. Like it's on him, and they needed to get the perfect guy, and they did. And I still love this movie. The choice of how they did Lex is the weakest part of this movie.
I agree.
And
it's not weak. It's just not him.
It's right. It's the performances are great, right? Like Gene Hackman.
It's funny.
Yes. Ned Beatty.
Hilarious. If he wasn't Lex Luthor, he'd be a better villain.
Hilarious. Right. But this is not. And the whole time now when I'm watching it, I'm like, why the fuck would Lex even have anything to do with Otis? Why are you sending this guy to fucking do important things?
It makes him look like an idiot.
Yeah, you're the idiot. Don't have him change the codes. You know, he's going to fuck it up.
Oh, Mr. Luthor.
Mr. Luthor, I think he's here. But all that shit is great, and there's a lot of backstory. But let's go through the movie a little bit, because there's some weird and wacky things. There's really 3 sections. There's like a Krypton section, which is very sci-fi. Man of Steel does a similar thing. Spends like 20 minutes on Krypton, right? It's like a 20-minute scene. Then there's a Smallville section, which is kind of like a 50s movie. And then you have the Metropolis section, which is your modern day.
Yeah, we could go in order.
But Marlon Brando, do you know about how he delivers lines? Do you know his method, Anthony?
No, I have no idea.
The man refuses to memorize lines. So he will have cue cards and his lines written on little cards and set in front of him in parts of the scene. So when you see him like looking around sometimes in like Godfather and movies, he's looking at his line and then saying it. In fact, I believe there was a card in the baby's diaper when he's holding Clark that had his lines on. And on one hand, it's lazy, but he was such a weird person. He would argue that he's like, it gives me a natural first time read of this line. That's not rehearsed. Whatever. I think it's hilarious. He got paid like $3 million and got this back end deal to be in this movie. It's kind of wild that he's in this movie.
Well, I think they wanted him as the hook.
Needed someone,
right?
Yeah.
Like, none of these other people were all that famous.
Yeah. Hackman was like the second tier big, but Christopher Reeve was unknown.
I'm curious. What do you guys like the Krypton stuff?
Well, I think that they didn't need to have the Zod stuff.
No, it makes no sense.
He's setting up the second movie. They did that because they were shooting the two movies back to back, 1 and 2, and then Connor gets fired and replaced.
I think that maybe that should have been something that they glossed over. Like, so when they go back in the second movie, they're like, oh, I remember that from the first movie, but this is an expanded version of it.
They could have done all of that in the second movie, though. Also, they didn't. You're right. You didn't need that scene.
Well, like they could have been like, okay, hey, listen, after this trial, can I talk to you about fucking Krypton exploding?
Yeah,
but
because it's so abrupt. The trial ends, you see them in the thing, and then immediately the next scene is, oh, Krypton's about to explode.
Yeah, so that doesn't really work. But I think it's important. I see, like, there's things I like about it, and there's things I don't like about it. But I think it's important for. If you've never seen Superman, you know nothing about Superman.
Right.
The fact that Jor-El is talking to his wife about, and they're having this discussion, and she's like, well, we're going to send our kid to this planet. He's like, no, it's going to make him stronger. I've already like researched this. And like, you can see that he's put a lot of thought into it. And then there's that moment where he's looking at him in the thing, and he's starting to like almost break down.
The son becomes the father.
Yeah, and he kind of has this like tear in his eye, and I'm like, okay, you see his emotion, and then when he's in the ship and he's on in his way to Earth, you have Jor-El talking to him and telling him all this stuff and kind of like implanting it into his brain.
He sent him with a podcast. He's essentially sent a podcast with him.
But like it does it to me. This is the sci-fi part of the movie, and it's my favorite part because. Not because of that first scene. I think we could cut that, but I think that the fact that they thought about it so much, this father-son relationship of this guy who's got to send his kid and send him with all of the memories and all the things to help to equip him for him to have a reason to be the last son of Krypton. And I was like, oh wow, they really thought about this. They really wanted to imbue Superman with a real purpose and kind of a knowledge that is like he didn't just discover on his own. This was and he has a relationship with his father that's been long past.
Right.
And it just adds this mystical. He's like, by the time you see this many years will have passed.
Yeah.
And all that other stuff. It just gives it a more mystical, sci-fi, ethereal presence, I believe.
I mean, I think it's important, too, for the explanation and the way the next part, they take their time setting up this world and world building and getting you into what's happening. Like, I just take out the three Zod and Nun and Ursa thing.
I would have started the movie and immediately you just see them and then you have him talking about how the planet's going to explode.
Yeah, that's where it should start. By the way, the very beginning with the black and white curtains and the comic book, the Action Comics and the kid reading the thing, I did not remember that. That's how the movie always started. I had no recollection of that.
My DVDs, that's how it started. Yeah.
Really?
I don't remember that starting like that either.
Oh, shit. I did not remember that at all, but I kind of liked it as kind of an intro to get you into it. So, yeah, you get the trippy shit. You get him coming to the planet and the Christ comparisons. There's a lot of Christ things in this movie.
Very overt.
Start right away with he's in a star and then you get to Smallville. And I always remember this part as a kid just because of, first of all, the kid pops out and when he picks up
it's great.
The fucking truck is so great. What a great way to establish how special this child is.
I love all the Smallville stuff. I really like.
And a PG movie, and you see a little child penis in it too. You notice that? I thought that was interesting.
I did notice.
I was like, oh,
you saw his penis?
Yeah, a little pee-pee there.
I wasn't looking.
So, and she says, we prayed for a child. The Kents could not have a child. Another fucking Christ comparison. And it's a wonderful moment. And then when he's a teenager, this whole bit with this guy, his name is Jeff East, I think, who plays young Clark Kent. They put like makeup and prosthetics on him to make him look like Christopher Reeve. And then Christopher Reeve redubbed all the lines with his voice. Yes.
Oh, I had no idea.
I did not know that either. And he just did like a higher pitched thing. And I don't think Jeff East knew that was going to happen. And he was a little upset, but
I had no idea.
Yeah. So that's Chris Reeves' voice, and the whole bit of him, that he's the ball boy or the towel boy, and he's getting left out of things. He kicks the football, which is great. That's a wooden football shot out of a cannon from the ground. Practical effect.
Well,
Great. Fantastic.
What I like about this, and not to put down another movie, but I'm going to, is they do a good job of having him hide his powers, talk to his father about why that's important.
Yes.
And not do it in a way that's stupid, like Man of Steel, where he's like, don't save me.
I thought the exact same thing. I was like, look at this speech.
Or when his dad suggests that he shouldn't save a bus full of children.
Yes. Maybe you shouldn't, Clark.
Well, the lesson that he learns is that he has all these powers, but he can't save his dad from a heart attack.
Well, no, but his dad says, Clark, you're here for a reason, and it's not to score touchdowns. Because he's like, what? Why shouldn't I do this? Why can't? He's like, a bird flies. Is that cheating? And that's the advice, proper Jonathan Kent advice.
Isn't that a great, but like, look at that. Very elegantly in that scene where he's talking to his dad and walking up the driveway, they nail more than any other Superman thing that's been done since.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Right. And absolutely. I mean, you learn why he teaches his son.
Yeah.
Why he needs to hide his powers.
Right there. And
but then also his son learns the ultimate lesson in humanity, which is you can be as powerful as you want, but you can't save someone from dying, from a disease like that.
Dude, even Glenn Ford, that moment where he grabs his arm, I vividly remember this as a kid. It fucking made me so sad. And he goes, oh no. And you could see in his eyes, he's just realized he's out of time.
But that's the impetus for Clark to be like, I got to figure out what's going. I got to understand, figure out what is my past, what is my purpose here.
Well, and then it continues to do even great things. There's a lot of great shots in this opening. The composition of the barn doors and the way they frame this is brilliant. And the way he is just drawn towards the barn. There's no dialogue. There's no over explaining. He is drawn towards the barn. He's drawn toward, and he finds the green crystal. And then that amazing shot of just them in the wheat field with his mom.
Oh, that's an amazing shot.
And he's like, I have to leave. Yeah. Maybe it's Joy.
And she's like, I knew this moment would come. Yeah,
she knew it was coming. That's like a fucking painting, that shot. It's really nice. So beautiful. And maybe it's Jor-El in his ear, but then for some reason he walks to the fucking Arctic that I thought was interesting. I was like, wait, you walked to the fucking North Pole?
Oh, he ran a little bit too.
Oh, he's Superman.
I think there was. I'm not saying that you see this in the movie, but I think there was something in the ship that, when he became 18, would pull him towards that.
Okay, it activated
because the ship. Jor-El goes into this whole thing about it's been this amount of years. And blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And how else would he have recorded that and known at the exact right time to play that?
I feel like he did mention on your 18th year or something.
Right.
Yes. Something will happen. Wait, I love him running past the train and the little girl sees him and he jumps across the train. I always thought that was the fucking coolest thing when I was a kid. I was like, and then when they're like, how'd you get here? And he just goes, I ran. They're like, see, I told you he was a weirdo. So there's a deleted scene. Apparently that little girl on the train, it's Lois Lane.
Oh, that would have been too much.
There's a deleted scene where she tells her parents, she's like, Mom, I saw a guy running as fast as the train. Fun Easter egg there. Her parents are played by actors who played Lois and Clark in the serial in the 40s in the Superman.
They cut that out because Lois is clearly the same age as
yeah,
right.
She was like a kid in that train,
and he was
18.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
Maybe 10 years older than her.
Right.
Yeah. So then he just feels like I got to throw this green thing. I don't know what he thinks what was going to happen. He's like, I can just imagine him standing there. He's like, I'm just going to chuck it. I don't know. And the Fortress of Solitude appears.
I feel like when he was in the ship and he was being kind of brainwashed.
It was all in his head. It's all conditioning.
It's just all, he doesn't know what it is, but he's got it embedded in him. So.
Yeah, I agree. There's something about the ship that draws him to do the things he's doing.
But I like that they don't have to over explain it, right? It just kind of happens.
Yeah.
Wordlessly. It's great, but you get it. And then Anthony, I remember you asking the Fortress of Solitude, because we've seen in the new one, it comes out of the ground. This one comes out of the ground. Apparently that's not from the comics, but this was such a great design and idea. The comics adapted this look of the Fortress of Solitude. So it's always been like these.
Yeah. Sometimes
shards.
When something's really iconic, that's different. Like, you got to hand it to whoever was the production designer.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's very different looking. Like, who would have thought that Krypton would be this ice planet, but it's hot?
Right.
Makes no sense.
Right.
And it's like the way that the light it works. It's like this kind of like almost like a black light. Reflective. Everything's reflective. And then this whole idea of this like crystal palace that kind of rises from the ocean. And they kind of ruin it in the Superman Returns because they do this to death in that movie. But it is like this kind of like this thing that happens almost like a nuclear reaction or some kind of a chemical reaction where this like nanotechnology or something
the
you can't even
crystals.
understand.
Yeah, the crystals hold knowledge and data. It's cool. You slide it in, and then we get this crazy scene, and I love Marlon Brando when he shows up. I just love him going, "My son, you do not know who I am." Like, this guy just had to sit there and read these lines and probably fucked up anyways. And there's no movement, but and he takes him on this trip that takes 12 years. And it gives him all this knowledge. And now Clark is very smart. I kind of forgot about that because I was like, I couldn't remember how they transitioned from young Christopher Reeve to Clark Kent.
Yeah, like he goes to the school of Jor-El. He learns all about the entire universe.
Wasn't his mom
like not
worried?
just he learned about Krypton. He learned about
everything, every planet, every universe, the history of everything. I was wondering what his mom was worried. Clark, I haven't seen you in 12 years. What the fuck? You can't call. Jesus. So then when he comes back, he is Christopher Reeve and he is in the Superman suit and he takes his first flight right towards the camera. And I think it still looks great. In a lot of the behind the scenes things from Superman, they mentioned that Chris Reeve used to be a glider pilot and the tests they were doing weren't looking good until they got Chris in there and he banks his body like a plane and just gets it. And it's the fucking, I would love to be in the theater the first time that fucking shot came out because I still think it looks great.
Yeah, I mean, it's iconic.
Anthony, we also learned the S is the crest of the House of L. It doesn't mean hope. That was a lie.
You can't trust Zack Snyder. You know that.
Also, they don't do the thing where like his mom makes the costume. He just gets it. Any other things about Smallville section, Anthony?
I think he makes it in there. He makes it in the Fortress of Solitude.
Does he make it himself?
There's like a microwave that he just presses.
He uses that blanket. Well, he
he
had the blanket in the thing with him.
But you think about it, the whole fucking building is made out of crystals. The crystals can do anything.
They can just print out whatever they want.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed. I mean, I said it earlier, but I really enjoyed the Smallville part. I think the Smallville part does more for his origin than the Krypton part. I think you need both.
You need both of them.
But the Smallville stuff, I mean, that's where he gets his heart. Like that's the parents, even though we only see them for a little bit.
Yeah.
You get why he becomes the man he's become because of his parents.
I mean, by the time you see him in the suit, you feel like you know him. You know so much about him.
Right.
It's really well built. And then we get to Metropolis. And
now you got to introduce Clark Kent.
Yes. And we start with a bustling newsroom. There was a lot of newsroom movies in the 70s. You had Network. You had another one with Dustin Hoffman. And they kind of staged this news, the Daily Planet, just like that. And this wonderfully bumbling Clark Kent performance from Chris Reeve is so great. And right away, you fall in love with this Clark because he's doing it so well. The little gestures, the movements, the pitch of his voice, the spraying of the water bottle on him, all the stupid shit.
So he's doing this all intentionally to cover for who he is, right?
He's got to be like an actor almost.
Right.
At some point, he figures out this is the way to do it. And honestly, the way that does it, like, I wouldn't have bought that he was Superman either, even though he's just wearing glasses. He does it so well.
Jesus, you are fucking gullible. You would have looked at that guy and then looked at Superman and not known.
Nah, come on. Even Lois Lane couldn't figure it out until the second movie. She almost figured it out at the end of this one. The chemistry between him and Margot Kidder, fantastic. The banter between all of them.
The banter between him and Margot as Lois Lane while he's Clark and then when he's Superman, it's great on both ends because you can clearly the negative chemistry he has with her when he's Clark, but then the great chemistry he has with her as Superman. it's well done.
He's so good. I mean, I can't think of a better person for this role. Again, scenes that I remember burned in my head. That whole alley robbery scene, I remember that. Him catching the bullet and pretending to faint. And then he kind of uses, and then he tells her exactly what's in her purse. So he gives like a hint of his X-ray vision. That I love that. It's so good. Just those little moments.
Yeah, he's being playful. He's like fucking around for fun. This is the way he's entertaining himself.
He's kind of gaslighting Lois too. We'll get into that a little bit later. I was like, he's kind of gaslighting her a little bit, but he has to. So one of the scenes that scared me when I was a kid was this Otis in the subway scene where he gets in the door and Lex lets him in, and then the cop follows him, and Lex pushes the fucking cop. This is a PG movie. This dude gets thrown in front of a train, and they don't show it. But holy shit, they
pick up the hat and they're
and so when you're like 10 years old, you see that and you're like, oh my God, that guy just got crushed by the fucking train. I was like, that's dark for a PG movie. It's dark. And then an hour into the movie, you were introduced to Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor. Here's some fun behind the scenes stuff. He did not want to shave his head, which is why he has hair.
Wearing wigs.
And then he's wearing wigs. Was kind of a consideration he did at the end for that last shot.
Well, let's pause here instead of going in. And I know you want to narrate the rest of the movie, but we should stop here and talk about Lex a little bit.
Yes.
So Rugboy already mentioned that this isn't obviously Lex Luthor, and you mentioned Imran, it's the weakest part. I would agree that I don't know if this is the weakest part, but it is. I do knock this movie down a peg because of the fact that while I find him very, very, very entertaining, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
The character makes no sense and the character makes no sense and is not at all loyal to the comics.
No. Miss Tessmacher! I mean,
it's funny as fuck.
It's
don't get me wrong. The whole Miss Tessmacher and having Otis around and like the dynamic all three of them have and the way she talks to him. Like there's all these bits where I'm laughing at. He's definitely doesn't feel like a threat to Superman.
Lex has got a couple of good lines where he goes to Otis. He's like, you know why the number 200 is so important to us? It's your weight and my IQ. That's why it's just this fucking dig on Otis. I love when he's hanging from the bookshelf and he's like, Ed for nincompoop, Nimrod, Neanderthal. It's just so silly. It's so goofy. But he has a plan that causes a lot of damage. And he manages to hijack some missiles. But I don't know. They thought the movie needed the comedy punch up. This was even the music changes to that fun, bouncy kind of comedic score.
A trumpet,
yeah. Whenever they show up. So when I watched it this time, I was like, why the fuck would you involve Otis in any? What are you doing?
Well, even Miss Tessmacher. I mean, what?
And she helps him escape. She wasn't completely loyal. What is she doing?
I mean, I think I forget the exact quote before, but I wrote down where he's like talking to her about the universe and all this stuff and gum.
Yeah. Yes.
And then she goes, what does chewing gum have to do with the secrets of the universe?
Yes. Lex, my mom lives in Hackensack.
Miss Tessmacher.
Miss Tessmacher. There's a Miss Tessmacher in the new one. So,
I mean, I will say, I know I'm skipping ahead, but Miss Tessmacher in some water.
Yeah, in a wet dress there.
Looking pretty nice. She's looking pretty good.
Yeah, when you you watch this as a kid, you're like, oh, Miss Tessmacher.
Miss Tessmacher, yeah.
I wish I was Superman.
Well, you also have, as a kid, you have Superman going out. Yep, they're pink.
Oh, that part's great. We'll get to that. But they do this running gag where Lois can't spell, but she's spelling all these like crazy words. I mean, he goes, "There's only one P in rapist," which that was an interesting line. And then the other scene I will always remember, the helicopter scene, of course, his first public appearance, the revolving door change, and that dude going, "Yo, Jim, wow, it's a bad outfit." And then
I like the part right before that though, where he takes a look at the phone booth.
Yes,
and they
only half.
it. Yeah,
and he's like, and then remember he gets jammed in the revolving door earlier, like several times.
Yeah,
but he's figured it out, and he comes out. And then when he catches her, and she goes, and he's like, "I got you, miss," and she's like, "You got me? Who's got you?" I fucking remember that to this day. I've always remembered that.
And then the other helicopter falls down on top of them right immediately,
and then he grabs it. It's such a
and
great.
The music swells, and it's just scene. It's magic at that point.
And then even when he drops her off and she's like, "Who are you?" And he goes, a friend. And then I love when every time he flies off, he goes, bye. Just gives a little wave. It's so good. It's so good.
I mean, the flirting though before them, where she's like, can you see through my dress or whatever?
Oh yeah, no, we haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, that's not.
Then this is when he saves her on the helicopter. But then
there's a hero montage of him doing things.
Then he goes out all over the city and he
that's right.
Pulls a cat out of the tree, stops a burglar.
Cat burglar.
All the drunk cops are looking at him, and
this is where the dad
him.
jokes I remember, where the guy where he's flying past the guy going down, and the guy hits him with the crowbar, goes boing, and then he goes bad vibrations. They're so bad now. I don't know why I thought they were funny. Watching it again, I'm like, these are the worst dad jokes.
No, they're kind of funny.
But they're kind of funny. But they show him doing like huge things to saving a cat out of the tree, and then I love the Air Force One.
The girl gets smacked by her mom.
Yes, she does. Did you notice that? When she goes in, you hear her go, this man flew down and got my cat. And you hear a smack. I was like, oh, really? Shit. Yes.
I missed that.
Don't lie.
The Air Force One engine blowing out. Fantastic. It looks great. And the guy's like,
I never caught that until this movie that was Air Force One.
That was the Air Force One.
They never cut to the president in there. You never see him.
You don't know who the president is, but they're like, Air Force One.
Just fly.
But like the set, the effects, the little models, like it's all well done. Now we get to this infamous balcony scene. Probably maybe the best scene in the movie. Ruggs, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank God.
I know you love this scene. Talk to me about this scene and what's going on here.
Lois scores the interview. Obviously Clark hands it over to her. Yeah. He wants her to be the one that interviews him for the first time. And he goes and he tries to mac on her a little bit, He's like toying with her a little bit.
He's very flirty.
But he does give up all of his fucking, I don't know why, he gives up his weaknesses to her.
Yeah, he tells her all the strengths and weaknesses about him. She can print it.
There's a lot of like innuendo. She's like, how big are you?
I love that. He goes, what? She goes, how tall are you? How big are you?
I never lie. I don't believe that. He lies constantly. He protects his identity.
That's a good point.
He's always lying.
He's lying. He's gaslighting her the whole time.
So
Superman doesn't lie. Clark Kent lies. I don't know.
So like this whole scene before they go up for the flight is great. Once they get up there and she's doing the poem.
That's weird.
That I was like, that did not need to be. We did not need that. Yeah, we did not need that.
Apparently that was a song that Margot Kidder sang originally, and then they just left it as a poem, which they didn't need.
I've heard the song and it's not good, but
that part's funny too because he kind of he's holding her by the tips, right, and then he lets her slip. Say that one. He's holding her by the fingertips, but they're loosening and loosening, and then he loses her and she starts falling. And then
Glad you clarified there, bro.
And then he catches her, and of course now she's gonna fall for you even more. You just saved her life, but also having caused her life being in danger. I thought that was interesting, but that whole flying sequence is very romantic. It's very nice. And then I love how he comes back.
It's a little much, but like I get why they did that.
And then the moment when Superman leaves, Clark shows up for their date, and he's bumbling. But then this is a fucking great.
Did they have a date?
They were supposed to go out to dinner that night after the interview. They had a date. That's why he shows up at the door. But this one little scene where he's standing there, she goes to the bathroom, and he's Clark Kent, and he takes his glasses off, and he stands up straight. And he puts his shoulders back.
That's nice.
And he's like, I'm going to tell her. Lois, I have something to tell you. His voice changes. And then he fucking can't do it. When she comes back, it's so good. Just a little subtle.
Well, even before that, though, like when she's all smitten over him and he's like, she's looking away, he'll like have this little wry smile. Like,
yes.
Got her.
Where she goes.
And it's just like, he's so happy with himself.
He got her.
Yeah.
Yeah. When she goes, that's Clark, nice, and walks out, and you see him smirk. Like, oh, she's into me. Yeah. So then you got to get back to the plot and the fucking bad guy and Lex in some comedic scenes.
So his whole deal is that he's finding out what Superman's weakness is.
Yeah, because she fucking wrote about it because he told her everything.
And so now he's got some information to go on, and he's going to trying to anticipate Superman trying to stop him and sets a trap for Superman. And it's pretty brilliant. Like, he figures out that there might be some meteorite that might be radioactive to him.
Right.
And
they
poison
found
him.
Yep. They steal that.
And they put it in lead because conveniently Superman tells everybody that there's a lead planter that you can't see Lois's panties through.
They're pink though.
Yeah, he's already checked out everything. He knows he knows if she's got a
Jesus.
I mean, he landing strip or
he checked her for lung cancer. He checked her for lung. He knows everything. He knows any cancer.
He's checked out the merchandise.
I like pink. You like pink?
He's happy.
Yeah,
he's happy with what he's getting.
Yeah.
Can we mention this one scene that has not dated well, and it is during the missile code swapperoo where the girl is playing Faith on the ground.
Oh my God! I wrote down the line there.
Yes, Larry Hagman as the chief of military. What does he say?
I got to pull this up.
Yes.
He goes, Miss Tessmacher is passed down on the ground to distract these military men.
In a short red dress with low cleavage.
And they're like, they say something along the lines of, how, what should we do? Or how should we treat her? And
she needs medical attention.
Yeah. And he goes, vigorous chest massage and mouth to mouth. And then someone's about to go in and he says something along the lines of, oh no, I can't let you guys do that.
Oh my God.
My superior, I can't let you guys do something like that I wouldn't do.
Yes.
He's going in to just fucking assault her.
I know. And they all turn around and surround him and cover him. You can't say. I was like, wow.
And he makes them all turn around.
Yeah. Wow. 1978. Okay. That's crazy.
Miss Tessmacher!
Miss Tessmacher. Look, she knows what she got in. She knows what the gig was.
I do have to admit the Otis is fucking dumb on purpose. Yes. But the codes where he's writing the three numbers and then he's like 317. And he's like, no, that was 317. There was two different numbers.
There was a fourth one. So they did this whole thing, and then they got to go back and do it again, and send Miss Tessmacher to do it. It's just ridiculous. And then I do like how Lex contacts Superman with the high pitched message.
No, that was cool.
And then Clark jumps out the window, and his clothes magically just disappear, and he turns into Superman.
Yeah,
but did you notice? His pants are still on when he has the cape. If you look closely.
Oh, no, I didn't look. Yeah, I was just going to bring up, though.
Yeah.
We blame Marvel for the appearing costume, and
the nano
Richard
helmets.
Donner's motherfucking ass did this way back in the day.
He's not even trying. They just change. It just changes.
It's just an appearing costume.
Yeah, it's so funny. But he's still wearing pants.
He's moving so fast that you can't see what he's doing.
But when he's falling, he has the suit, the top of the suit and the cape, and he still has the pants and the shoes on. It's pretty fun. They didn't complete it. And then, so we get the whole scene. He meets Lex. He gets down to his lair. Lex has to tell him the villain plan, of course, as it happens. Here's what's happening. It's happening right now, as a matter of fact. Don't open that box. It's kryptonite. Goes in the water.
It's such a casual conversation.
I know. He's like, I'm going to send you a bill for that door. Otisburg, really?
I like that Miss Tessmacher gets the Tessmacher Peaks.
Yeah, she gets Tessmacher Peaks is the name of her town. I didn't even catch that. That's great.
If you just go in and go, hey, this is for the most part a comedy, it works. But if you go in and think, oh man, it's going to turn serious, like they try to, but it's so stupid.
Yeah,
that it doesn't work on the same level of being like, oh, this is like a legit, like, oh, this is a real dramatic.
This is meant to be a popcorn 4-quadrant movie. Everybody, their families are going to see this.
Yeah.
So it's not. I mean, I do think that it is a little talky for kids.
Oh yeah.
But I think that a couple going to see this would probably enjoy it as a comedy.
Well, you also have to think 1978 Superman, people just weren't seeing stuff like this.
Yeah.
Other than Star Wars.
Yeah. Big budget destruction. I mean, you have this comedic tone whenever it's with Lex, but then the end of the movie, all this fucking crazy shit happens.
Yeah, earthquake and
people are dying.
Breaking.
Yeah, there's he. What I didn't understand, there was 2 missiles.
Yeah.
One was going to California. One was going to New Jersey. Where was Lois and Jimmy At the dam.
They're in California.
Oh, they were both on that side. So he redirects the New Jersey missile because he promised Miss Tessmacher.
Miss Tessmacher.
Dude, she's like, I'll help you, but you have to save my mom first. Because for random reason, Lex is like, oh, I'm just going to blow up Hackensack, New Jersey. Just because. My mother lives there. So he's able to redirect one. He doesn't get to the other one. The fucking Earth starts opening up. And I forgot that he flies into the planet, into the crust. And lifts the Earth back
that's
up.
great, that shot.
That shot
I
where
did
it's
forget
red.
that happened.
Yes,
I forgot that he was late to the second missile.
When he's holding up the rock and it's all red and it's that wide shot, it's so cool.
Yeah, no, it's good.
It's very cool. So, yeah, Jimmy's at the dam. That explodes. Lois, there's a gas station that explodes. She gets swallowed up by the car, but he has to save children on the Golden Gate Bridge. That's coming down. There's train tracks. You get the classic him acting as the train track save. You got the dam and him building a second dam, but by this point, it's too late. As he gets to Lois, her car is buried. This is the other scene that scared me as a kid. Her getting buried alive in the dirt. It looked very real. Like, the tone of this movie shifts dramatically.
It does.
Because he gets there and she's fucking dead.
And when he pulls her out of the car.
Oh, my God.
His, emotion.
Just like his dad. He couldn't save her. With all the powers he had, he couldn't save her.
It really does hit pretty good. It's even his acting is really good.
Yeah, him yelling into the camera isn't super cheesy.
No, because you almost expect him to do like a no, but he just screams as he flies away. And then you get Brando's great, my son. You are not to interfere in human history.
Is that your Brando impression?
My son. That's what he sounds like when he says my son.
Okay, let me jump in here. I know because you're going to talk about how he flies around the world and backwards to reverse time and save her.
Yes.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that because it's once you introduce that, and I know that other movies, superhero movies have done this later on. Yeah. Marvel too. But once you introduce that, anything like what's the value? Like nothing means anything anymore.
Look, he wasn't supposed to do this, and
he's not supposed to do it. That's what Jarrell said.
Like physically, it doesn't make sense. But they mentioned,
of course, physically, just flying backwards, flying against the rotation of the Earth does not do anything.
Also, what I didn't understand is when he stops it, he rewinds it, and then he spins it forward. Like the earthquake just didn't happen. What happened? Like, why did it not happen? Did the missiles not hit?
I don't know.
I was very confused.
Exactly who
I don't think it's that the earthquake didn't happen. I think he just gets her out before that happens.
Sooner. Oh, okay. So maybe he gets there before that. Okay. But they kind of a little bit hint at like time and the universe and interfering with humanity and him having to make a choice. But it is something.
I have a quick question.
Yes. You've never seen him do.
Did he use his eye blast at all?
No. In this movie, no. I don't know. He didn't use the cold breath or the heat vision.
So they saved that for Superman 2.
Yeah, at all. But instead they give us this rewinding the planet time power, which nobody knew he could do this. I don't know. As a kid, I really enjoyed it because I thought it was fucking
as a kid, of course, that's the coolest thing ever.
Yes.
I'm just thinking about, because you make 3 more movies after this.
Yeah.
Like the implication of the fact that he can just change time
at any time
means like he's basically like he can do whatever he wants. There is no meaning to anything he says, because if he fucks it up, he can just go back in time and do it again.
But he can't go back really far, just a little bit. Otherwise he would have saved
know that?
I don't know. Otherwise he would have saved his dad. He didn't know he could do that when Pop Kent died, but yeah, it is. It's kind of a way to write yourself out of a hole there at that point. Like, what else?
They wrote themselves into a hole.
Done? I don't know. There was no other way to do it.
Like, does she need to die?
No.
Like, what does that do? What if we're thinking about the plot? What does that do for the plot that he does that? I guess the fact that he's now gone against what his dad said.
Yes, he chooses to interfere to save one human.
Yeah.
That he's now become, his adopted planet has meant so much to him that he'll do it for this one person. Yeah.
It's mixed up a little bit.
But it is
it's not clean.
It's not clean.
They clearly did it. They clearly did it because they wanted to have a big scene to end the movie on, like something big, and the death followed by him going back in time is like a more grandiose way of ending it than him just saving the day and saving Lois and pulling her out of the ground.
It is different, and it got people talking, and you do remember
it's
that.
Unnecessary.
It is unnecessary.
But I'll give them credit for this, especially now. At the time, this was the first of its of kind.
Yeah.
But when you look at like this movie and the way it's aged compared to other movies, other superhero movies, when you look back at this, you go, this was really unique, right? Because there's not really any superhero movies that end without a big fight.
Right.
And all of this is just him saving people. And, there isn't, it doesn't have it ages gracefully in that sense because it's different.
I mean, he kind of fucks up, right? He doesn't get the second missile.
Right.
Doesn't get to it.
As powerful as he is, he couldn't save to get that second missile, but then he retcons it because he is powerful enough to fucking get that.
Yeah, I mean, when you get to the next movie, they give Superman like a foil, a person who's just as powerful as him,
right.
Zod.
Right.
And he's now on his back foot. He's actually the underdog. And but they also like nerf him for the most of the movie. So like Superman doesn't really get his due in either of these movies that are made about him because they kind of do these things where he loses his powers and they give him like this kind of milquetoast version of Lex Luthor where he's a guy that's living underground in a subway and has like two underlings and one of them is a complete moron.
And he continues to make him do important things.
Yeah, so it's like you can't really buy him as a serious bad guy when he's living underground. It just doesn't in hiding, and it's just very wacky.
Yeah, they
made some decisions that were kind of limiting, like how great Superman can be. Because when Superman has a great villain that he could fight,
right,
and Lex Luthor is at his full powers, kind of like representing the human not wanting to be replaced by this or kind of superseded by this new being that he doesn't want to capitulate to. I think that's more of an interesting dynamic.
And I think that's what the Gunn movie is doing right, that you can tell from the trailers, is the Lex we're getting.
Well, that's too soon to say, Imran. Wait,
I think so.
No idea.
He's jealous. He's mad at him.
Personally, I think that Gunn overcomplicated the things with throwing all that stuff in there. But
I mean, from the trailers, he's a better Lex than Gene Hackman Lex.
But
already.
To be fair to Gunn, Zack Snyder already redid Superman's origin,
right?
And we need to do it again.
Yeah.
So whatever. We kind of had two shots at it. I think this is the better shot. Obviously, I think that this origin, the Man of Steel origin, as much as it's okay, I hate the codex.
Yeah,
but I think that it owes everything to this opening. It wouldn't be able to do it.
Dude, every superhero movie after this owes everything to this. How many of these movies quote this movie and have direct inspiration from this movie?
Like even when in Spider-Man, where he rescues Mary Jane and swings through the thing, that's taken from this.
Spider-Man 1 and 2 is like Superman 1 and 2. They both lose their powers in the second movie, and then they got to get them back. And even at the end of this, the flight through space and then that look to the camera, and that smile, that earnestness is a wonderful way to end this and establish this universe. But this is the movie that establishes this genre.
Let me. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to ask, overall, does this movie hold up? Did the effects hold up for you guys? What I wanted to say.
Yeah. I mean, it holds up. The effects are what they are. It's not terrible. It's not great, but it's 1978, right?
Yeah.
Like that. I didn't mean to rhyme that, but
can you suspend your disbelief and watch the movie?
Absolutely.
I think so.
So
I think you can certainly just suspend your disbelief. It's interesting though. You brought up, Imran, that this movie is the movie that spawned everything, but I disagree.
Oh,
I disagree. Okay. And the reason I said that, this movie inspired everything, but there wasn't a big rush to make more superhero movies after this. It's only Superman movies that get made after this. The next superhero movie that's besides Superman is Batman. That's not till '89.
Right.
So it wasn't like everyone was like, "Oh shit, we got a moneymaker."
Well, what happened is after that Superman 3, it went downhill quick.
Right. Well, I also think there was a lot of like rights stuff, so I think it was a little bit more complicated than that. But it's just interesting. Like this is the first, I guess, new modern superhero movie.
Yeah.
But like there wasn't a bunch after that. There wasn't.
Well, I feel like what happened was Superman comes out. Then all of a sudden they try and fast track the Spider-Man movie. That gets tied up in hell.
Right.
So they decide to do a Spider-Man TV show instead and the Hulk TV show. And so those things now are Hulk gets pretty good ratings, but the Spider-Man one does not because they can't really do Spider-Man with the budgets that they have. So they're kind of up Schitt's Creek and they can't do anything.
They're doing Wonder Woman too. They're doing a lot of TV.
Yeah, they did Wonder Woman and all that stuff, and they did what they could, but they didn't want to chance the big money on these movies because they're effects heavy and
the budgets went down. You know, it was a different time where you're in the sequels, you get less money instead of more money.
And then in the 80s, it just took so long to get Batman off the ground. I remember it very, very well when they started kind of ramping up. They did the Punisher movie with Dolph.
Right.
They did the Ninja Turtles, and that's in the 90s.
And Howard the Duck in 86 also.
A lot of these movies, like, they had to spend a lot of money to get it right. And a lot of theaters were not really willing. A lot of studios were not willing to pony up the money. So it's crazy that it took till Batman 89 to like reignite. But even when that came out,
right?
Like by the time the third movie, by the time the third Batman came out, people were already.
It went back down.
A joke.
Again. It was
it was a joke.
Yeah,
but I would argue if you don't get this, you don't have this. You don't get Batman 89. You don't get Batman Begins. Then you don't get Spider-Man. You don't get X-Men. You don't get Marvel trying to.
I think it does inspire. I think at some point those other movies would get made, but this is what this movie does is it shows everyone that this is possible, and it shows them that this can be done well.
Yeah, they can kind of take it seriously and have fun.
And it's I wouldn't say it's a miracle, but it's an accomplishment that they were able to nail this, like I said earlier, without any other things that they could look at. I mean, you could look at other genres.
Yeah.
But there was no superhero genre at this point.
And even effects wise, you're making this the same time like Star Wars is getting made and Close Encounters, and they're inventing things and trying to figure out how to make it look good. Like for 78, I think some of the shit is still holds up. Roger Ebert gave it 4 out of 4 stars.
Well, I think what makes it hold up is the effects and all that stuff are important, but it's the casting. Christopher Reeve in the titular role, as you like to say, Ron.
Titular.
And then also, Richard Donner and the earnestness that they put into each of the scenes. There's this easily could have been a joke. And while it is funny, there's enough moments in there, enough heartfelt moments where you're like, oh, they actually give a fuck about this, and they're trying. And for the most part, they nail at least Superman's personality.
So what aspects of this do you think James Gunn's Superman needs to capture?
We're talking about James Gunn Superman?
Reproduce. I'm saying if we're going to compare, he's bringing a new Superman. This is arguably the best.
I feel like the mythic tone is something that no movie could really do now. I feel like when's the last time you went into a movie and you felt like transported in a sense of wonder?
Right.
And like, not only that, but that anything is like they primed the way that they did Jor-El and the way that they did, like just, I guess maybe it's Mario Puzo's script that just approached Superman in such a mythical way.
It took its time setting it up.
Yeah, it takes its time. It doesn't, it leaves a lot of things open-ended, but it kind of creates this importance of Superman. Like he is Jor-El's son. He sent him with a purpose. He not only that, but he thought about this whole thing. He has like a 12-year journey with his father from across space and time to prepare him for his role as to lead mankind.
Savior. Like, yeah.
Like he even says, he's like, they're primitive, but they have potential, and Kal-El will go there and help them meet their potential. So he was always he had a purpose. He wasn't just the last son of Krypton. He was meant to be something much more. And so that mythical quality in Man of Steel, it's not there.
Yeah.
They use this codex and it gets all muddled up, and it takes us from mythical to practical, and it's not as good.
I mean, you also have like Joseph Campbell's hero's journey in this, in the different segments, you know, from Krypton to Earth, and then from Smallville to Metropolis, and then ultimately Metropolis to the world. And just each of those sections building on the other. I mean, I think him casting David Cornsweet is a similar, like, unknown as Christopher Reeve, but in this world, as we're seeing, there's superheroes everywhere. Metahumans have been around for 300 years. People have seen weird shit, and this is year 3.
Does David maybe his Superman is different, obviously.
Yeah.
But David Cornsweet Superman doesn't even, in what I've seen, doesn't seem like he has that same air of that he is this being he seems very, very much actually like just a normal random dude. He doesn't seem like he
needs to be a guy who cares for humankind, right? Who cares?
I don't know. There's something about Christopher Reeve's performance and the writing and the mystical direction that was kind of there that made you believe that he was something. Yes,
bought it.
No, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, Ruggs. I think
seems more mundane, this Cornsweet guy.
I think, like, to compare the Superman that James Gunn is making to the Superman now, although it is inevitable, I don't think it's a very fair comparison, because you're talking about a movie from 1978 where this is similar to Jurassic Park or something like that, where when you're the first and you nail it, you have that wonder built in.
Yeah.
That immediately depreciates as soon as you have that first movie. Yeah. So to capture the wonder, I think is tough.
Yeah.
I think what they got to do is they got to capture, I've said this a few times, but I'm going to use it again, the earnestness of Superman.
Yeah.
And that he's genuinely a good guy and genuinely wants to do the right thing. And that might work in a time where, you know, people hate each other now, and there's so much division in the country. Like, having a character where it's like, I don't give a fuck if you're Republican or Democrat.
Yeah.
If someone's in trouble, I'm going to go save you.
Right. No, and I love that he's playing with that whole, like, who owns Superman? You know, is he beholden to a government? Is he there for the planet?
Yeah, and I mean, I like that whole trailer where they go, you know, she's grilling him about going to another country and crossing enemy lines, and how he started a war, basically, and he goes, he just yells, people were gonna die.
I love that, and I love that you get a little bit of that character, and that combined with Lex going, who raised you as a child? I'm gonna kill them too. And so that's different. He still has his parents in this one, which they do that in the comics.
What I would say, not to kill the hype on this, is we have a lot of time to talk about that Superman movie, and we're speculating based on trailers. But I think the focus should be like this movie, and what this movie did, which is, you know, it started, even though the genre didn't really kick into gear until the 2000s, it started the genre that we know of today.
Absolutely.
I just find it to be very strange, and you could even use a lot of movies like this, like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or even E.T. That have magic in them, and the magic still works. And when you watch the movies, these movies, you're like, oh, this is what's missing. Yeah. Like, why isn't it? What is it? What's happening here? What's in the sauce? Yeah. Is it the writing and the directing and the acting all kind of coalescing and the music to all coalesce to bring, like, we don't have that kind of thing anymore where you feel like things are working. We're always like, I guess it worked. You know, like, we don't really have that definite feeling of it hitting.
Well, I think you see it. I think you just don't see it in the genre anymore. Like, for example, the wonder that I had with Superman when I watched, for example, Sinners.
I was going to mention that.
I was like, wow, this is movie magic. Like, this is crazy. Like, all these things are hitting at the same time, and I'm seeing something different. So I don't think you see it as much in the genre anymore, but I think you see it in other things.
But you're absolutely right. That's what you need to hit, is that wonder. And maybe it's because of what you said, Anthony. We've seen it already. How do you create what? Like the first Jurassic Park, the wonder of seeing that shit was amazing. You can't really recreate that.
It's not impossible. So the thing, though, is the comparison I'll make is we've seen Godzilla many times.
Sure.
But when I watched Godzilla -1 in the theater, I went, whoa, like this.
Yeah.
I feel something different about this movie. I feel threatened by this monster. I felt, it's not wonder, but I felt, oh my God, this is an intimidating being every time this thing's on screen. Yeah. So it's possible to recapture. It's just very difficult.
I guess it comes down to, it's got to make you want to feel something.
Right. That's movies.
Yeah. But not all movies can.
Well, no, most movies don't make you feel anything.
And with this Gunn Superman that's got all these people, and there's more people in there.
We're still talking about Gunn.
I'm just saying, he said there's more cameos. There's so much shit in this movie. I don't want it to not give me.
Let's talk about Donner real quick.
Yes. Yeah.
So Donner, obviously Lethal Weapon, right? He's a big dude, big deal. He was supposed to do Superman 2.
He shot 75% of it.
And the Salkinds they wanted more of a comedy. They like the comedy shit. They were like, enough of your mystical bullshit.
Yeah.
And you're like, magic, movie magic. We want to have gags. And he wasn't into it. And he's like, fuck this movie. And he left because he's like, you're going to make me make shit. Yeah. And he was a perfectionist and he didn't want to make shit. So
it's amazing this first movie came out as good as it is, because you're absolutely right. He clashed with the Salkinds and they wanted him to make it. That's probably the Lex bits were done to appease them. But Ilya Salkind he buys the rights at 1973, and it takes him that long to make this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. We'll never see the Donner version of the second movie.
No, there's a Donner cut out. You can find the Donner cut of Superman 2.
Right, but it's not like a full assembly. Yeah. It's like a patchwork.
Oh, it's patched together. It was never finished.
I mean, you could tell it's not, the lighting doesn't match quite or all that other stuff. The color grading is not the same. I watched it. It's not necessarily better. Remember when Stallone put out the different Rocky 4 or whatever?
Yeah.
And how we're like, it's okay, but it's not better than the other one. I think this is the same thing. Whatever Lester finished the movie.
Yeah, Richard Lester. Yeah.
And he made a complete film. So this thing that they slapped together, that's the Donner cut, it's never going to have the proper post-production that it needs.
2006 Donner cut comes out. I still need to see that.
I have it on DVD.
I love the moment in the second movie where he flips the powers off and they think he depowered him, but he really did it to them, and then he just crushes his hand, Zod's hand. Lois is like, you know what, lady? Yeah, pain in my neck. And just punches her. Yeah.
What are while we're on Donner, what's your favorite Donner movie? Because I'll tee this up. So he does one of the first superhero movies of the modern times.
Yep.
By all intents, knocks it out of the park. Does the coming of age kids movie, one of the ones that everyone remembers, Goonies.
Yeah.
And then does the quintessential buddy cop movie with Lethal Weapon.
He also did The Omen before Superman, which gets him the Superman job.
Right.
Yeah.
Also The Omen. Great. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. The
horror
Omen,
classic.
Yeah.
So you've got 4
different genres,
somewhat different genres.
He handles them all really well, and then he does Scrooged, which is also
you got to answer the question, right?
Man, they're completely different movies. This is wild. I would say Superman and Lethal Weapon are got to be up there.
Well, they're all up there, Imran.
I love Goonies, though.
Okay, you're not giving an answer.
Shit.
Rug, what do you got, Rugs?
It's really hard.
What's the question?
What's your favorite Donner movie?
I would say Superman. That's
yeah, I think I would lean Superman.
But I love Lethal Weapon. Yeah. Lethal Weapon is great. Yeah. And I even like Lady Hawk, which is a good movie.
I'd say Superman is probably the most appealing to the most people. Man, The Omen too. That's good.
The Omen.
I kind of like Lethal Weapon though.
I mean, Lethal Weapon, what it does for buddy cop movies, right? That's it does his own template. For that.
The Goonies is actually my least. I didn't grow up a Goonies guy,
right?
So
right. Now, I got to think Superman is like his most important movie here.
Is that his magnum opus, Superman?
I think so.
Probably, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
The others are great, but what this movie
the others are all great genre films.
Yeah.
But Superman is like it steps up.
Listen, if it wasn't for Superman, this podcast never happens. That's how deep it goes.
Right.
Yeah.
How deep. All right, let's do give me your rating.
News from the nation? No, I'm just kidding.
No news from the nation. Give me your final thoughts and rating on the Superman 78 here.
Who's going first?
You go first.
All right. Initially, when I watched this movie, rewatched it, I went, how can I grade this anything but a 10? I'm not going to go that high. Yeah. I think it's a great movie. I think it's an iconic movie. It's an important movie. And I respect everything that they did with no template. And I like the fact they knocked it out of the park with the casting of Christopher Reeves and the way he portrays the role, the character. Like, all that's great. I do think when you look back at this movie, the villain is while he's funny, the choice they make to make it more comedic ends up hurting the film a little bit in terms of how credibly you can take the threat that's to Superman. Like 2/3 of the movie, we're not building towards anything because there is no real threat. Right. We're just hanging out with Superman, and it's great. Yeah. But there's no forward momentum to like, what is going to be this thing that can take him on?
Yeah.
And when you find out what's taking him on, it's a little bit disappointing.
A little silly.
Yeah. I don't like the Krypton stuff up until when he gets sent to Earth.
My son.
And I didn't like the end with him going back in time. So like all those things make this movie about an 8.5 for me, which is really good because this is the first of its kind, but I can't rate this a perfect 10 because I also don't have the affinity for this that maybe you guys have because I did not grow up with this movie.
Yeah. All right. It's fair. Ruggs?
I actually agree with Anthony. I was going to give it the same score. I do think that the movie has problems. It's not a perfect film. Now, the thing about it is a magical film.
Yes.
It is an important film.
Yeah.
I really think that on nostalgia alone, one might give it a 10.
Yep.
But if we're looking at it analytically and some of the choices that they made, did they actually pan out? Were they actually, even in retrospect, even looking at it now, or even if you were in the theater in 78, would you have noticed it if you were a cinephile? Like that these are 3 disjointed stories and they're kind of clunky together.
I bet there was comic book nerds that were mad about Lex Luthor. There had to be.
I would say so. Yeah, it does have issues, but it does have that magic, and I love it. I would give it a 10, but to be practical, it's more like an 8.5.
Yeah, no, those are all very good points. For I'll give it a 10 as far as pop cultural significance for what it means, just like you said. But
but you could give it 10.
Watching it again with the with the Lex stuff, like I'm gonna go 9. I can't give it a 10, but it is ultimately a very important movie for this genre, and I can't believe it took us 10 years and almost 600 episodes to get to it. But here we are.
I do think, though, it is a miracle that movie.
Yes, it got done the way it did. It sounds like the shit I read about the behind the scenes. It sounds like this is. I mean, all movies are miracles essentially to get made. But
when I was looking at the behind the scenes, it reminded me a lot of if you read the behind the scenes of Jaws.
Oh, sure.
It's just all this trouble and like everyone fighting with each other and
the
people
shark
not
doesn't
trusting.
Work. Things are breaking.
And people not trusting the young director.
Yes.
And it's a minor miracle that both of those movies came out and were as iconic as they were. And as good as they were.
Yes.
But when you're doing something for the first time and you have a studio that is banking on you to make it good or to their liking, but also bankrolling this, like clearly they're gonna fucking fight with you.
And I mean, they had, that first flight had to be good. They had such an important thing to nail. And I think mostly they pull it off.
I mean, you had Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Superman.
Close Encounters. They're all,
they're all within Jaws. They're all within a few years of each other.
They're all inventing tech and pushing the medium forward, and they're inventing tech that is still kind of, you can trace back to the tech today.
They're all also the start of what the modern blockbuster is.
And let's not forget Alien.
Yes. After, the summer earlier, you had Jaws. Yeah, Alien 2 the next year.
Well, Alien pushes it in a different direction where it's like we were having this space thing where everyone is like, oh, space is this clean, awesome thing.
Right.
Wondrous thing. And then you're like, oh, no, it's fucking scary as shit.
It's scary and violent and R-rated as well. So, yeah, I mean, but very important movie. All right.